Hey guys, so as I mentioned earlier, we are moving on to the second part of the 10th experiment, that is dynamic NAT. So, like in static NAT, I'm going to go to the definition part first about dynamic NAT, and then we'll see the topology part. So, what is dynamic NAT? Uh, so, this is the definition that we have over the internet. So, a type of NAT in which a private IP address is mapped to a public IP address drawing from a pool of registered IP addresses. Typically, the NAT router in a network will equal types of registered address. And when a private IP address requires access to the internet router system, that is not the private address. Okay, so as you can read from here, the main difference in the case of dynamic NAT is in dynamic NAT we have a pool of public registered public IP addresses. So suppose in a network we have a public IP address that is trying a device. Okay, so let's have a device that has a public IP address and it is trying to connect to the internet. So when it is trying to the it is trying to connect to the internet using dynamic NAT in a system which in a network which uses dynamic NAT. Um, that type of network has a pool of registered public IP address. So when a specific private IP address is not, it's trying to connect to the internet. So what it does is the router chooses an IP address from the table that is not at the time being used by any other private addresses. That is, it already has a pool of registered public IP addresses. So it takes particular address which is not in use in use at that time, and then it allocates to that particular private IP address. So what is good part in dynamic NAT? So dynamic NAT helps to secure network as it marks the internal configuration of private network and makes it difficult for someone outside the network to okay, so it has in simple words it has better security uh, features. And another advantage here is that it allows a private network to use private IP addresses that are invalid on the internet but used as internet addresses. That is, uh, when the device is trying to connect to the internet, actually the part which is visible to the internet is the public IP address which is allocated, not the private address. So even the private IP addresses that are invalid on the internet can be used. So that's also an advantage of dynamic NAT. So that is the definition part. I hope you understand that. So now we are moving on and using a topology here, just a sample topology. Here again we have a web server and two routers and switches and a set of PCs. So again we have a set of configurations here. So let's go through it. It may look a lot at first sight, but it's easier if you go step by step. So first step is taking the host name, selecting the router. Then this part is taking the interface, giving the I'm sorry, yeah. So giving the if you take this part, so this part is taking the IP address, taking an interface, giving the IP address, and giving the basic command no shutdown and exit. So we are done with this part. Now we are moving on to the second part, which is we are taking the interface, again giving an IP address. Then here, as you see in this case of static NAT, we are given plot rate, bandwidth, and then the basic commands. So that's this commands. Then we are given an IP route for the serial interface 0/0/0. So here, if you see in the case of static NAT, just let's go to static NAT. So in static NAT, we have a command called static, and static while we are given IP NAT command. But if you look here, in case of dynamic NAT, we give it as IP NAT pool test and this particular command. So see, that's exactly why I mentioned the definition of dynamic NAT. And what is dynamic NAT? Dynamic NAT is a pool of public IP addresses, right? So here, that's why we are given a pool of IP addresses from this particular address to this particular address. Okay, so I hope you understand the difference between static and dynamic NAT. Again, we are given a test like this is a list one. So any private address which is coming will be public IP address will be given from this particular pool, and then the rest of the commands is similar to public private IP address. I'm sorry, static NAT, inside the interface, outside interface, and then exit finally. So that's that. And so let's go to the testing part. So this is the main part, and which is the fun part here. So again we have a command for testing and debugging here. So I've made the command here. So when you for debugging purposes, IPNAT has a debug command. So if you switch on, if you want to switch on debugging in a particular net, router, which is used in dynamic NAT in a specific network, we use this particular command, debug IPNAT. So that's for the testing part. Now let's move on to check in whether this particular network is working or not. So I have followed the instructions, the commands here, so you can check it out, try it out. So let's go to the testing part. So we are going to take a PC in this pool of PCs that we have here, and from any PC we are going to try to connect to 20.0.2, that is this web server. So let's try that. So since we have a lot of PC, I have limited the number of PCs, so it's the same thing. I hope you understand. So paint 20.0.0.2. So as you can see here, it is fully connected with 0% loss, so which shows that it is connected properly. So I hope you understand this router, and we just pinged this server. Okay, so next test. Earlier in this explanation, in this experiment, I told you about IPNAT debugging. So this is how the IPNAT debugging process works. Okay, so it shows the packet details, source, destination, the IP addresses, and so on. Now I'm again and again mentioning here web server. So let's try whether a particular PC can access the web server or not. Okay, so the address of this web server is 20.0.0.2. I followed the same topology here. So I'm not taking a PC, any PC. I'm taking a web browser. Now I'm going to type the web IP address of the web server. So as you can see here, this is the default Cisco web page which is given for any web server. So this shows that we are able to connect to the web server successfully. So this is the same that we are that is required in the desired output. So we are getting that. So the last part is in real life it's best to turn off debug after testing. So for if the debugging purpose is over and you want to switch off the debug in an IPNAT, so what do you do? So we switched on R1. Just wait. I switch on here. So okay, let's try here. So let's go again, enable. Then this thing is for IPNAT debug. Just a sec. So for enabling it, okay. The command is debug IPNAT. Sorry. So debug IPNAT. So this is for enabling it. Now after the entire debugging process over, to switch it off, we use ip no debug IPNAT. So I hope you understand the entire debugging process, and I hope you understand the entire topology. So it's basically a simple topology that we are using here. And I hope you in this in the explanation of 10th experiment, I hope you understand the differences between static NAT and dynamic NAT. So I hope this video helps, uh, and I hope you understood the features of static and dynamic NAT. Thank you for watching the video. I hope this helps.